Alright, welcome to the channel. So if you read the thumbnail, I did it to myself again, and I got another Charger HEMI with a bad motor. So let's just take a quick look at this one while it's up in the air. So I found this one on FB, what does that guy call it? He calls it Flatbook or something, I don't know. Anyway, I found it on FB, and it's an 06, it's a HEMI car. I don't think it's ever been hit. It's got the moon roof, and it's got the DVD system in it, and the kid's got MagnaFlows and no mufflers in the back up here. So I'm gonna do is my bad body car out there, which has damage all over, I'm gonna take everything from that car and convert it into this car. But before we do anything, we're gonna see if this motor's any good. So this is a 5.7 RT, and I think it sucked the valve. So let's get the exhaust out of the car, and this way I can pull the heads off, and we can see what this needs. You know, maybe this one might need one of these. So this is what happens when your valve crashes from your cylinder head into the top of the piston. Right there, slams it, snaps it, and ruins the piston. So let's get started on getting the exhaust down. And I don't know if I'm going to get it out today, but I'm going to try. So one-man show. Let's see how we go. Thanks. All right. So intake is off. The overflow bottle's out. Air cleaner's out. Battery's disconnected. Hood sitting in the upright position for now. Hopefully don't follow me. Exhaust is disconnected from below, except I didn't disconnect the oxygen sensor there. So let's get these harnesses out of the way so we can pull this head off. Take the valve cover off. Try not to loosen up the AC. Hopefully it has a charge. And I took out this sensor here because it's I think it's broken. So we're gonna get another one. All right, so making progress. Okay, so I got the valve cover off. I got the rocker shafts off, and I got the push rods pulled out. So you look over here. I lined up everything. I put driver side 1, 2, 3, 4 for the coil packs. I got my valve cover, my 5 bolts for the front of the head. Short ones go on the top, long ones go on the bottom. This is the left side, and that's the right side as you're looking at the motor. So and that's your water pipe. This is the water pipe that went bad on my other car. Had a hole right here, and it caused the car to overheat and caused me to have that issue. All right, so now all my head bolts are broken loose, and I'm gonna get them all out. I gotta just disconnect the O2 sensor in the back, and then it's time to pull the cylinder head. Oh, I gotta take the power steering pump off. Power steering pump off, oxygen sensor, pull the head bolts out, pull the head off. All right, we're getting close. Heads off, and as you can see, let me come around the lift. This is the back of the motor. So this valve seat and the back of the motor decided to go boom. And you can see how this is sitting inside more. See how this sits out? This sits inside. And you can say that this valve is bent here. See that? So let's go take a look at the motor. Ready? Ready? Wait for it, wait for it, wait for it. Oh, there it is. Number 4, or whatever it is. I don't know the names of the Dodge, I have to look it up. But if this is 11357, 7's an issue. But can anybody guess, can anybody find the boo-boo? Can anybody find the boo-boo? I'm gonna point to it, ready? Right here. This is your MDS harness. And this is it going behind the engine. And this bolt is missing. So, why is that like that? I bet you they were having issues with the MDS, and that's why this is new, because they were so unaware that the harness is getting crunched by the transmission right there. So it's something we got to look at. So if you could see, here's the pieces of the valve. Right here, here's one, okay? And here's the other parts of it right here on the table. So, all right, so at this point I gotta loosen up the whole motor to pull that cable separated to get that cable out, and then tighten the motor back up. But that explains why there's no covers on the motor mounts, because there's supposed to be shields here for heat. Those are not there. That explains why the bolts for the exhaust manifolds came loose very easily. So someone did put a new water pump in it, but that ain't gonna help it. So, and this gasket has seen better days. Can't reuse that. But you know what I should do? I should just put my head on it, put it back together, and see if it runs. But I might do more damage. All right, let me come back when I make a little more progress. All right, so as you can see, that piston no good. Now we got this side apart. So rockers came off good, short valve stems, push rods. Short push rods go in the top one for this one. Long push rods go on the outer one for that one. So I'm going to assume that this is the intake side and this is the exhaust side, because if this valve here is right there, that's the intake manifold. And if this valve here is right there, that's where the exhaust manifold is. I would do that, and then the holes here are spark plugs. So, oh, speaking of spark plugs, so let's go over to the driver's side spark plugs. I took them all out. And as you can see, I don't see any damage to any of the spark plugs, even though it did drop a valve. So the last cylinder, which is this back cylinder here, was the one with the damage. But surprisingly, the spark plugs aren't that bad. So, and I don't know, it's got auto lights in them. Not my favorite for the Chargers, but that was what this person had. So this head is probably rebuildable, but we are going to use that head there off the other car, which should be good. So we'll check it out once we get to that point. Okay, so now we have to break the head bolts off, and we got to unplug that rear oxygen sensor, and then that head should come off. And we got to take the EGR valve out of the way. So one of the 8mm came out. I took the alternator out of the way to get the other one out. Okay, let me come back. All right, let's wipe that screen. Hey, a little I don't have the magic of 3 cameras, but hey, here we go, you're back. Okay, so we have a positive. At least there's nothing wrong that I noticed with these cylinders. A little dirty. Maybe he's using cheap gas. A lot of detonation on this one. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to spin the motor, and I'm going to clean that cylinder first. I'm going to clean the top of that piston. Clean that off, get all that debris off of there. And look, you got a little chunk right there embedded in it. See that right there? Yeah, you can see it right there from that angle. So I want to see what the cylinder wall looks like. So let's get this cleaned and I'll come back. Okay, so my suspicion is good. There's no damage to the cylinder, so that means the piston is not damaged. Might not look pretty, you know, but looking at the wall, I don't see any scratches in the wall, unlike my mustache car. Oh, I see a little bit right there. Oh, what could that be? Could that be? All right, let me run my hand on that right there. You see that little mark? All right, let's raise that piston again. Take a quick look. All right, back to the top. You know what? Probably could use a piston, right? I'm sorry. Could probably use the piston because of that mark right there. Well, yeah, but you know, it's a little chewed up. But I don't know. Right there, that little, see that edge right there that's missing? Right on that thing, right? I'm gonna shine the light on it right there. Right there. So that's probably an issue. So I spend 80 bucks. This does have a leaky oil pan, so I could pop this out. You know what? Let's. Oops, sorry. Yeah, we might be popping a piston in this, because if that little cut in that corner on the edge was a little different, then maybe I wouldn't bother with it, but because it just got that light spot right there, where right at the bottom on the left of the screen. All right, let's see what we're gonna do. All right, let's take a look at the cleaning the slug. See any marks on the walls? Let's get some light on that subject. So I still see that little bit of a mark. But you know what? I don't see any cracks in the piston. Just see a lot of debris hitting it. Ding, 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 ding. So, and I see a little mark like that. And if I run my hand on it, right in here, you don't feel nothing. So, spend the $80 for a motor I'm only going to pull anyway and get rid of? Probably not, right? I'm back. All right, so it came in the mail. So it's a little late in the evening and now, but we're going to get on this tomorrow. So we got head gaskets. We got valve cover gaskets, exhaust manifold gaskets. All I'm using today is head gaskets, and I'm probably going to put new valve cover gaskets in it. And that will be enough to get it to run and see if the motor is worthwhile saving. All right, so let me come back tomorrow when I go back out here, and we'll get some progress going back. So next night, and it is nighttime. So I showed you the head gasket set. So let's just pull the lifters out to double check them before we go through all this nonsense. Make sure that the rollers are good, and then we're going to reassemble the passenger side first. And then once I'm done with the passenger side, then we're going to reassemble this driver side. And hopefully, I've been beat up by a valve seat, survives. All right, so let's get back to it. So we got the first bank out right there. So the first two pistons, and here are the lifters. So the rollers look good. I haven't rolled them by hand. Feels good, feels good, feels good. Okay, so those are gonna go back in, and it has a little 8mm screw that holds them in. So basically, you're just gonna fit it in the bore like that, and then you're gonna tighten up this little screw here. And do I know the torque sequence on it or the torque spec? Honestly, no. But it really didn't take me much to break it loose. So I'm gonna say that it was pretty lightly torqued. So, all right, so since I can't do two things at once, not that talented, let me get this back together, and then let me do all of them, and if I have any issues, I'll come back. All right, so we made some progress. Cylinder head is on. It is torqued down. As for Google, it says 25, 40, and then 90 degrees, and then this was 15 and then 40. And surface is clean, head gasket's on, both surfaces are clean. Now I'm gonna do is put the push rods in, and I got my inch pound because it says 195 inch pound for the rockers. Now the question is, I took the left cylinder head first apart, so that should be the driver's side. This should be the passenger side. So this should be the driver's side bolts. I reused my head bolts because this is a motor that I'm not keeping. So I want to see that it runs. And I'm going to tell the person, whoever gets it, it's got new head gaskets in it with used bolts. And it's got a piston that I'm going to show them video that they see. And, you know, someone needs a motor. Hey, it's whatever they can afford, right? So I'm not going to be asking a lot for it. Just, hey, you'd rather sell a running motor than non-running motor. All the lifters checked out, and all the lifter things were tightened back up. So, all right, so let's get that. Let's get the shorties and then the long guys in, and then let's get the rocker studs on, tighten them down to 195 inch pounds, and then I'll come back. All right, we're back. Got my right side together. Got my head bolts torqued. I just got to torque those ones. I guess I shouldn't have put that other gun away, huh? What would it say? 15 and 25. And then I got to do is put the exhaust manifold in, because this time I put the head in without the exhaust manifold on to see if I can put that together like that in the car if I had to do the job. So, all right. And when you're ready to put your rockers on, do the intakes first, because those are more difficult. The exhausts are much easier. And alternator's back in, EGR's back in, plugs are there, but don't forget you got a ground in the back there with another ground wire, and that pipe goes to a nut in the back. All right, and MDS is disconnected because they squeezed the harness between the motor and the tranny, so just disconnected for this time. So let's just get this thing running and see what it does. All right, so driver's head is back on. I wish I would have put that manifold on, and it would be one less job for me to do, but oh well. Intake on top, exhaust on bottom, short push rods on top, long push rods on the bottom. As you can see, short ones are here, 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 and there, and long ones are there. A lot easier to put the long ones in because they fall into these holes compared to the intakes which are on the bottom there. So you have a little bit of a trouble doing it. All right, so let's get that manifold off the old head and get it back on this head. And I can put my belt back on because now I have everything I need to run the belt. All right, okay, so we're back. So a couple days later now, and I couldn't put the belt on. I did, but guess what? When I disconnected the wiring harness, the wire that went down to the oil pressure sender was disconnected, and I had to take the alternator back out to plug that in because there's no room to do it without taking the alternator out. So if you disconnect that on your passenger side, make sure you plug that in first before you put your alternator in. All right, so good news altogether. Good news, it runs. Bad news is number 7 cylinder, which is back here, but this last cylinder. So I'm just going to say driver side 4 in the back here. I'm getting oil leaking between the head and the block. So everything got torqued down 25, 40, and then 90 degrees. I did use my my used head bolts, so that could be the issue. But this side here, 25, 40, 90 degrees, and it's good. So I'm thinking because maybe the head surface and the engine surface is not meeting correctly, and that's what I cleaned up. Everything did nice and nice cleanup. So and this side I had the exhaust manifold off when I put the cylinder head on because it was lighter and made it easier for me. So anyway, getting to the point is that this motor and tranny is an automatic, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to use my Frankenstein car And I'm going to take this motor, which has hardly any miles on it, and that 6-speed that it's connected to, and I'm going to put it in that body. So yes, it's back together. Head gaskets are done. Head gaskets on the one side was good, so cleaning the piston up and doing all the surface and stuff, it was good. You know, started up, made oil pressure, didn't make any noise. I was happy with it. So next thing we're going to do is we're going to take the Frankenstein car, and we're going to put it on the lift. I'm going to take my jet rag rear out, and I'm going to pull my motor and tranny out of it, and I'm going to pull my mirrors, my trunk lid, my whole front of the interior, because in this car here is everything's getting put in. So as you can see, I did my black interior in the back already. Black seat belts, black interior, changed my speakers in the back with the speaker cover. So I'm going to get rid of the ugly beige, and I'm going to go to my Daytona setup. But instead of being an automatic, we're going to be a 6-speed. So this will be Frankenstein 2.0. All right, so thanks for watching. It was a little disappointing, to be honest with you. But this HEMI motor, you could do these head gaskets. And when I didn't do the manifold on this side, drop the front Y pipe down, and I will give you enough to put the exhaust manifold gasket in with the front top stud, because if you're doing exhaust manifolds, they have like a little C that goes over the stud. So if this was the stud sticking out and the manifold would go over, that would hold the manifold on. And shorties go in the middle, long guys go on the ends with the studs, because it's technically supposed to have a heat shield, which is like, I can't see, but they're supposed to have heat shields on it. How the hell are you going to get them on when they're in the car? I have no clue. But this motor and tranny will be good for a rebuild. It doesn't knock. Built up oil pressure. It pulled out of the driveway fine. So, you know, if I didn't ruin the floor pan in that white car, cutting the hole in it for the 6-speed, then I could just swap this motor and tranny in and put the automatic back in and dump that as a cheap beater. But I'm not going to go through that trouble. Anyway, thanks for watching. Like, comment, subscribe, and until we get to the next section, let's see what comes up next. Thanks.